There's a dangerous severe weather threat today and an even more dangerous severe weather event tomorrow. I'll break down what is going on exclusively on TBF Cyclone. It's TBF Cyclone Sunday, March 15th, 2026. I've been out for a long time, sorry about that. I think it's been since last Thursday since I last did a video. And a lot has happened since then, so I just want to quickly break that down. There were a couple EF3 tornadoes since I last did a video. Nothing EF4, but the outbreaks that I was talking about before I left happened. And the first one was last weekend, March 5th through 7th. So the March 5th, there were a couple of EF2 tornadoes, decent tornadoes. March 6th was that Friday. There was a tornado in Michigan, which was an EF3 tornado, and they were only under a level 1 out of 5 severe weather threat. And this thing formed and just rolled through Three Rivers and Union City. This was two separate tornadoes, but it was the same supercell. It just produced two different tornadoes. This one was almost EF4, high-end EF3. And then there was another EF3 that day in Beggs, Oklahoma. And in total, there were 8 people killed in that outbreak, which is very tragic. And then there was another outbreak that week. It was the Tuesday that there was. Here it is, right here. So this Kankakee tornado. That's kind of what I just call it. I only call it that because it went through many different places. It was on the ground for a very long time. I don't know if it says here. But this one was 150 miles an hour. I think the only reason that I wasn't rated an EF4 was because this didn't hit any populated areas, which is good. But this was on the ground for a long time and probably would have been an EF4 had it hit a town or anything. Luckily, stayed mostly out over rural areas. You see 3 deaths on that. And that was the first tornado of the day. That was the supercell that had briefly maybe produced a tornado that was not rated because it was only over rural land for a couple seconds, and then it later struggled to produce a tornado and then produced this EF3 monster, which again was on the ground for a really long time. About an hour and 21 minutes. So, I had time to eat dinner, and I went back to it, and it was still on the ground. So it was wild. But we still have more severe weather this week. Today, it's a level 3 out of 5 risk. Mainly wind as the main threat. As you can see, it goes all the way from the Florida Keys, all the way up into Michigan, and then all the way up from about Corpus Christi, Texas, to Virginia Beach. So it is a giant area. The tornado threat is decent. It is 10% hatched. That's 10% within 25 miles. Don't let that fool you, though, because I don't really know what the 10% exactly means. It's really 10% above average. So it is very likely that there will be tornadoes in the area. The wind, 45%, and then it's only one hatched, significant one. So that would be, I don't know how strong that wind would be, but it's still very dangerous. And then tomorrow's outlook, quickly the hail outlook. There isn't really much in terms of hail. It's mainly just wind and tornadoes. And then the tornadoes are only one hatched, but that means EF2, maybe even EF3 tornadoes. A quick radar check, actually, really quickly before I go into tomorrow's threat. All these red polygons up here and down here, this is mainly linear. This isn't really supercells. This is mainly a wind threat. But there are a lot of tornado warnings right now. If this will load, this is being kind of slow right now. Most of these, I think all of these are radar indicated. I checked just before I started recording. and they were all radar indicated. But that's probably going to change. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some decent tornadoes today. And then as we get later, there will be, as it gets closer to Memphis, there will be maybe stronger tornadoes, 120 to 150 miles an hour. And then, yeah, these tornadoes could be pretty strong. We may see a couple EF3s. I'm not quite sure about that. We'll see what happens. I hope not. And then tomorrow's threat is what I'm mainly concerned about. It isn't as big of an area. It still stretches from the Florida Keys all the way to, Buffalo, New York. The tornado threat, though, 15% for the Central Carolinas into Virginia, into Maryland, too. It's only one hatch, one piece of press to see that upgraded. There are a lot of areas in this. Even the 10% is a big deal. Like Wilmington to Charlotte, Virginia Beach, Richmond, Virginia, and Raleigh, North Carolina are both in the 15%. However, it's much more likely than that. It is going to be a very dangerous day tomorrow. But the main threat is oh no, it's not working. Oh, okay, now it is. The main threat is the wind. So it's 60% for Raleigh and Washington D.C. is in the 60%, and Richmond 45% for places like Charlotte, and Virginia Beach is just out of it. Wilmington's just out of it in the 30%. But Charlotte's really the only big city just in the 30% or in the 45%. Wait, there's something up there that would be, I don't know what that is, Baltimore. And then that's one hatch. Charlotte isn't quite in the one hatch, but this could be upgraded to a two hatch and maybe expand to Charlotte. We'll see what actually ends up happening. And I am in this in this threat for tomorrow, in the bigger threat. So I'm also in a slight threat today, but nothing significant. So this is probably going to be bad. And the East Coast doesn't really get high events like this. And what's really going to happen is the Appalachian Mountains are going to break this apart, and then it's going to redevelop. As it's doing so, it's going to spawn little thunderstorms, which are supercells, which can spin up very easily as it's moving through Charlotte, and then keep moving west toward Raleigh. Right around Raleigh is when it's going to become more linear, more of a line and more of a wind threat. But again, still a very dangerous threat, and I'm going to be watching this closely. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.